I'm just going to do a roll call. I'm present. David Cruz, Live Coleman, Scott Erickson. I received that he would not be here. Chief Pissarro.
Here. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Casari, can you hear us? Are we audible?
I can hear you.
We can hear you. Randall Ortega. He will not also be here. I got Dana Parkett present. And Kathy Velez. And approval of the minutes. I did not receive any minutes. Did you receive any minutes? As far as I know, the person doing the minutes was out.
She's working on it earlier, but I'm not sure.
She was. I actually reached out to her for the minutes. And she was gonna do her best, but she probably wasn't there in time. So we could just table that until we have to make a motion to table that for the next meeting. Able to accept them. Any communications received by committee?
I've received none.
I'm going to pass it to you because we've been back and forth.
Right, yep, I talked to Officer McCollum about doing our community outreach piece for meet and greet type of a deal. And yes, she booked us for June 3rd, which is Saturday at 10 a.m. at Pitch Middle School Community Center, which will be coffee with police, and community members from our committee can be there to answer any questions the community has. So she said she'll work on getting a flyer put together for that for us.
Any other communication? Yes.
The only communication I have is what I gave to you earlier, which is from the department that will be holding an award ceremony this Friday at 10:30 at the Town Hall Annex,
Yes.
where we're going to recognize some outstanding achievements of our officers and civilian staff. Certainly open to the public, but more importantly, it's folks here that we're inviting to attend. You have it in your schedule. I know it's during the day, so.
Another old business. Anything really to discuss on old business? I don't believe we should. New business, public safety community outreach. So you introduce. I don't want to say your name wrong. Lorena. Clark. I think it was something. Just like Johnson. Lorena Clark. Really bad. That was right. Thank you for coming. Thank you for. Start off and say I'm nervous because friendly faces. Do I have to talk about it? Can you hear me?
I can move that speaker closer to you. Than
There's a speaker there.
right there. Oh, that's the microphone.
Yeah.
I can't say that. Not myself. A little bit about me. I graduated. As an aside, it's cover reunion. So my past history is daughter. Shelter before, shelter family program, and then housing, and then house. So the whole time I was reason I tell you that is because when this job, I was very intimidated because I don't know if you could see, they put everything but the kitchen sink. This is like a job. Right? Because no one knew what they wanted, or they knew the wanted. Not exactly. They put everything in. And then I saw this line. This is as a combination of education and experience that demonstrates the ability to. And that is considered stated education. And the reason I can do in here. Coming from the civilian world to this wasn't a hard transition. Not the same goal. Which, by the way, I didn't know there was city and town. But nevertheless, I came from doing worked alongside PTF, so but that's where my because I got all that life experience, and I am not the and then it's totally different as far as I talk to someone legally. Usually when I call, luckily my phone number doesn't come up. Comes up as a fully 959. I meant to get that fixed, but then I thought I'll just let it, because people will answer. If they don't answer, so yeah, when I came here, it was like, besides all of this, I had to figure out what I wanted because I know I can't like to do. So the first thing I did was crisis intervention training. I did. Went online and looked in Groton, just meet people and find out what resources are out there, because I know Norwich. Right, met her, but when I how I structure, it's always a work in progress because, but it's a work in progress. What I started doing, I would every morning I would read books and yeah, I was call everyone to follow up and judge. What do you need? What? So some of the calls I've answered. First month looking. I work very closely with the outreach specialist. Runaway team. Actually, I had and got him at the Groton school, which nothing about it. Go, it's voluntary, ever, all. And now. Going into that overdoses and utilize the access line and website. And I gotten. Paperwork are free, these press records. I will do follow-up if I'm on a ride-along. I will never try that. There. Well-being checks. Which can, well-being checks. That there. All. I do larcenies, and the reason I follow up on the reason I started doing that is because I noticed on saw that it was children's clothes. Person. And so I started looking at it. I will choose, pick. I help. And utilize the leaders. That's daily problems, the fabric. You have walking. Yeah. Right. Oil. And food. From their navy. There is feeding family there. So there's like tons of. I do kind of the warm hand off. I'm there. Let me know. Some people. On for a little bit. They know. You had fraud cases and. Quite a bit. I'm upset about it. Telling for not fine. Very good. Yeah. I do have some. And referrals from outside. Well, I get a lot. Because now that they know what I do here, for a while, they will either. So, also here, not just. So my door is always open. Nothing wants to leave, realize that. I do. I have a book of inspiration, I have a book of Zen, and then I have a dad joke. Come in at any time. I have. You know, I read. Every. When I do meet, and a lot of times. But when I do meet, one thing we decided is I think one of them is be honest. They do ask that. I usually say, here, no, please, you know. So, when I meet people, they get comfortable. As I said, I actually. Because, actually, and they'll talk to me. Resources. Calling for. But. So I just happened to be there. Went for a fraud case. I didn't want. So anything. Because last weekend, was actually. Walmart, it was. Very good. Very true. That's okay. I ordered another one. And then I went to their. They were staying. And took notes because they're nervous. So I took. There's everything we talked about. Okay. They called me actually. He ignored my. Talked to me one time. He. She didn't even know how to ask for me. She was like, the lady who knows. And they was like, okay, that's great. She got to me. She apologized for not calling me back. And I said, and that's how. You know, oh, when you're ready, my thoughts on you, I know. You know, but when they're ready, and they come back. Time they know, you don't know. For the lady. And sometimes I tell them, just ask for the crazy gray hair. Don't know. We worked with, I mean, it's a lot. I'm sorry, this is a lot. So I'm just trying to give you an overview of the different buyers that, family that's an elderly woman. Actually, yeah. Parents, right? So I referred her first. Okay. So that's one. I had a couple, the husband were not telling her, they were not following up. All, it's actually Westwood. All of them. Not their case manager and. Because sometimes when I don't know that it shouldn't be that way, but someone. Especially. Which, you know, I don't use all the time, but when it. But there was
Yeah.
They come to your house.
Meals on Wheels?
No, DoorDash,
DoorDash.
one of them,
Oh, okay.
something like that. The driver took her food. And we went there for a lunch. Turns out to be, she. We thought we closed the piece out, actually it was like. Okay. And then she called me. People have. Stop me when you, because I need to go. So, people have heard about me, I had and emails and how does she this night. But like you come, you're carrying a very small caseload just because some people they'll be fine. They'll go up on their own. And what I do with people who a lot of help back up COVID, so on waiting list. However, I have outside the box therapy and art therapy. There's a place they have so there's art therapy, which under 18 so everyone and they don't, it doesn't matter. Also, what I do is when someone needs something and they don't want to do it, I will do the research for them. I have friends are out. I do the research. I have a database of almost all insurance. They can still work on it. Send it. If you, there's, when I work with someone, it takes one call will be either it takes work with someone, research, talking, calling out people. So as much as I come from caseloads, 30 people at a time, and 6 months to work with these 30. Here, you know, so I have the leeway to take my time. Like, absolutely. Like, yeah, I can do it. So yeah, that's it. I have some works that I've done. Now, mind you, I don't done this before. They'll all figure it out. And so my reports, they're not, but you can get them, you know. The trainings I've had, besides the IT, I've done the indigenous, Black indigenous people. Our thoughts, lives. I went away to there's a national service workers. That was a company. Now we do. This is such a. Trying to figure out database. Now and then. Great, but it's coming. I mean, I just need to know what I know. What I have here is what I've done, and I could send it to whoever. That is- I do quarterly. That was the first month. And on the second page is a graph. Of who I worked with. So that was when I first. Trainings, not knowing who to call, very few. By July, this one. 43. So, see, I'm getting going, and. No one. So, and all the while I'm talking to all these people, I am gathering more resources. I did a breakdown of. I mean, different agencies. So to collaborate, talk to, ask for assistance, we want. That is just how to on how I've even called immigration lawyers. And this one, I'm just giving you up to just. And I don't know if you noticed that the largest amount. It's not a, this is just a highlight of what the calls I make, not. Free, so that is.
Police emergency examination.
Yeah, I just know when they say,
That, if I may, and that is the statute that allows police officers to do an emergency committal where you can bring a person that's in crisis. That's a threat to themselves or others to the nearest emergency room. And they can, the emergency room physician does an examination.
what's this?
Free police emergency examination. Police
Yeah,
request for emergency examination. Free, PRE. Used to be peer, now it's free.
Here it was confusing, so
thank you. And for local outreach for outreach was clinical. She on. Gonna take those on. That's okay, I mean. Available. That's. There's a lot. And. Story. I've spoken at the family has symposium where I already talked about every month we go to Malta. Then and once New Haven's on the call. I mean, yeah. So they passed me. Everyone better now as they get to know. And if I don't know the answer, I'll know.
Just so I get the report back, what's your actual,
Okay. This is Chief's fault. Public safety community outreach specialist.
It just rolls off the tongue.
However,
It's-
would you say that again?
no, don't even worry about it. I call myself community outreach specialist.
Okay,
It's easier. And also when I meet with people, I just found that public safety sounds too official and fancy. And I want them to talk to me, so I just say community outreach specialist. I'm a COS.
I just want to make sure I get your name.
LDR.
Thank you.
You said for a report.
No, I'm not a reporter,
No, I know, not a report.
I'm the liaison for representative town meeting.
I'm still getting to know all, different- you
Me
guys have
too.
meetings a lot.
Me too.
Meetings to plan a meeting, from what I noticed.
What would you say is your
Not enough hours. I know that sounds big. Learning to. Still learning so much, so the obstacle is just like target and here, because there's a lot of academic nonprofit, there's a lot of academic here, so it's not.
So, will you be getting?
Can answer that. The council and the RTM approved our budget Thursday night last Thursday night. The RTM approved our budget, which does include a second position for community outreach specialist. After July 1st, we'll be able. Excited about that. I know.
Yeah.
Maybe you could hit on the numbers and when you talk to your colleagues at that meeting about, remember your activity level.
Yeah, when I went away, the. Talk to them about. Hold my position. Are very high level. They were saying, you better. You're gonna burn out, which, you know, he's doing that, so I. Oh. So that's my first one. Gosh. That's overwhelmed, still overwhelmed.
You interface with Officer McGraw?
Yes, actually, we just went to a health fair. But yeah, we have worked together.
Their offices are right next door. There's another selling that.
Yeah, Chase is. I'm sure.
JRB, you have any involvement with the juvenile review board?
Okay, yes, I do go to JRB. It's very interesting. They, that's so. It's just, but I do go to that monthly.
Could you explain what the JRB is for those that may not
So
know?
the juvenile review. Awesome. And they're the case. And then. For them, but it's a one-time thing.
Service. And, so for example, could it be a felony that they can go to the JRB or? I actually. Understand what show this is? He didn't like, because there's like nowhere to make.
Well, like I said, there's. So a lot of places. There's home insurance. I mean, when I went to healthcare. So I know you guys have some there. I go to a meeting on Zoom. So, is it? If. Liaison to make sure that. Patient. That's that meeting. I didn't get your.
I'm sorry, I'm Rachel Franco, I'm on the town.
Okay.
So there have been people that said that maybe your position should be in community services. And I thought it would be great that you were in the police department and how you have interaction with the community. So what would you say to that? People that think you should be in.
Because right here in the building. Whereas if I was in the building, and a lot of places do. Being embedded in the patient was. You don't have to meet. And I could.
You like it here in the police under their budget rather than being under police services.
Yeah, because they're clinical, they have. Triage, so. I'm. Not like I'm there, but I mean, I send people. Where they can show it. They are all with them.
I think that was something, and I think that, something that talked about across. Also, there's a safety net there for you. I think there is a safety. Conditions being up, but you're also dealing with right then, right now. And sometimes if you don't deal with right then, you lose that time with that person. Not
Absolutely, they're there when I go out. Buzz and home. I don't want to. They're not, they're with me. Right now. But they're usually.
being that conduit to trust within the police. Huge.
Yeah,
I can kind of dovetail off that, and it may address your question, but trusted partner versus part of the team. Marina's part of the team. It's not someone that's we're welcoming in here from time to time. It's she's part of this department. Every Monday we have a staff meeting. He's got a seat at the table. He hears the concerns unadulterated from everybody, from the command staff and the senior leaders of the department. But she also is able to pass back to us some of the things that she's working on. So it's not, we don't have a visitor, we have someone completely embedded, but she's part of this organization and has full reign of everything here. She's been vetted so she can access our computer systems. She's able to walk down the hall to my office and say, hey, I need to talk about something. And the flip side of that, I put it in my notes here, but her advice and counsel isn't exclusive to just people out there. It works internally, and it isn't just somebody that's having a problem. We met today, right? We met earlier today, and she offers insight and a different perspective from a person that, somebody like me or the deputy who's been wearing a gun and a badge for 30 years. She has a completely different outlook on things where you can say, well, this is what I think, and she may offer some. She's done this on many occasions. Said, well, here's a different way to look at it. And kind of, it's eye-opening. It's a little bit, it's different. It's a perspective that helps us. I don't know. I'm looking at the deputy kind of nodding his head. But
She has no problem speaking up on matters, and she's a good lady. She's a really great compliment to what I think is a good team, and I think she fits in pretty well. Like you said, it took a little bit to kind of get the ball rolling from everybody's perspective. Yeah, it's working out really great. And she gets access to, you mentioned the shift summaries. We have a summary at the end of every shift that the shift commander will put together on the highlights of, hey, this is some of the instances I responded to. It's on the email stream. He gets it like the chief and I get. Not every morning, but every shift at the end of the shift. Some of them, like she said, will say, attention, Marina, can you spotlight on this issue?
also,
that's one of my other notes.
yeah, I send it to everyone in the department, email, they don't always read it, however, I make it shorter. But it's the difference. If you're on the road. And it did help more than once, but one that comes to mind is after I went through colleges, every school, sent the list. So I resources. And it goes to everyone here and then also to be on the list. So I think
You can.
Just, because I think Lorena threw me under the bus with the job description. We,
I mean,
we did, you know, we cobbled together something, tried to get, something that was all encompassing. We weren't really sure we had this moniker of social worker and might be sympathetic. We knew that we needed somebody to do this job. We didn't know exactly what the job would consist of. We put a lot in that. And a credit to Lorena, when she got hired, and I will tell you, we sat in this room to do interviews. She knocked it out of the park. When she did her interview, it was a compelling story of her experiences, her credentials, the things that she had been involved in. Felt like it was the right fit. The challenge for us in the department was trying to figure out how to take that piece of paper that says job description and translate it into action, into a position that was valuable to us. The advantage and credit to her is that we didn't have to handhold it. We didn't know what it would look like. She hit the ground running, and she could have easily sat in that office and kind of just boiled away at trying to figure out what this was. But she didn't. She just went out and crafted it the way it is now. So that's her, you know, the product of what you're hearing today is her efforts, where she's put together this data for us to kind of track where it's at. I know when we first envisioned this, one of my hopes in speaking with Deputy Chief Gately is we wanted somebody who followed up on domestic violence incidents in this community. That we have people that were victims of domestic violence, our officers respond, they investigate, many times they make an arrest, but there's a lot of cascading effects from that really the police are ill-equipped to handle. She's now filling that void. There's a trust there with members of the community where we have, and I heard it loud and clear a couple of years ago, where there are things that we don't necessarily have to have a guy or a gal with a badge and gun showing up to. It's good to have somebody that they feel a little bit more comfortable with that can do that follow-up, but also has a perspective I just mentioned a little while ago. He's got different experiences. And we don't have to dedicate a police officer. So that's huge. Yeah, and like I said, many, and not just exclusively me, people in this department will go to her looking for insight and advice on a variety of topics, or to just say, hey, you know, I want to sit down and talk for a couple of minutes, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So yeah, we took a big, robust bunch of ideas and thoughts and put it on paper to make a job description out of it. But you know, Lorena not only proved her value, but then some. When you're looking at these things that she's been going to, everything from, you know, helping homeless folks to domestic violence to people that suffer from addiction. I don't even know if you mentioned she's in recovery coach training right now. And that's going on continuously. That's all stuff that she's brought to the table and working with these partner agencies. And the other part is she's not exclusive to just us. If other people that have Groton in their title somewhere and need help, whether they live on Groton Long Point Road or down the hill or across town, she's available to them. And she's been a great resource for us. So I'll say that publicly. Thank you for what you've done. Thank you for hitting the ground running. And I know that you've been a valuable asset to this department and to the town as a whole. So that's been a great value to it. Thanks to the council, the RTM, for not only supporting you, but to find the value in this and saying, hey, we're going to double down on that, give you another body. That's great. And the town manager.
US. This role is getting harder. There's actually lived experience. I have a bachelor's. And it's definitely the compassion that they want it from. Really do. That's why I follow up. And then they want to know. That's the thing. They want to know. wait, I did that right. You gotta go get your card. And that would also value me. Got lunch. It's just fabulous. So happy.
So, well, one, I just think it's cool to be. If you like actually be somewhere and see like. And two, this is a little bit unrelated, but maybe not. Are there any efforts to kind of like get the these ones? They can. Have, you know, the right of the police. Or also the police maybe change the image they have of you. Yeah. Be a little bit around pretty much too, so.
That's an idea that I don't know. It's when I just. That's my, well, recovery, I was telling me that. Focus along with it. But that is something that haven't. Definitely. I also trying to figure out how to, please more involved, so I have a lot of ideas to figure out how to make it. Even the library. Senior center. Trying to partner with. On the same page. I'm very excited. Okay, we're gonna have it. It's be a very positive partnership.
Right, the first time we met, what was it, 2 hours sitting in the office, yes. So the first thing
Yeah,
you
we're
said
talking
was that you called the access line and you remember what you said. Resources are there, I'm like, there's the access. You can call and see if, you know, the person who would intake for detox, will actually pick you up where you're at. And take you to that. That's like a huge thing for people. So when I heard you mention the access line, I knew I already could tell the day that I met you that I probably may not even have to hear from you right away. You were gonna figure things out. But now that you have a whole year under your belt, you see that it's going to take, because I can tell you have a lot of energy, but it's going to take all the community partners to actually help so that you don't get burned out. So I'm excited that we're gonna be able to collaborate together.
One more.
Sure.
I'm sorry, just for clarification, and I know this came up early in the discussions, you know, sometimes, and Lorena does deal with folks that have had some mental health crises. But we don't, her part of her job description doesn't include that she goes into those hazards. That could be life-threatening in nature, it could be, you know, dangerous to her, so, you know, that's still a police officer, but she does provide, she's a resource for us to use in those situations. Part of her job, but we, you know, the intent isn't to put her in harm's way. So when she does go out, she goes with a police officer, you know,
Mess.
I was just gonna ask you.
thanks for.
You identified really quick, just, have you guys have a Groton, it's, so you're based here in Groton. you know, And then you will help obviously outside. Have you guys identified, like, you guys done work to identify? Most do have that actually.
Yes, I am. Oh. So.
I know.
There's a lot of acronyms. I have it here, but there's a lot of people, but there's organizations that I. Those organizations. There's actually a resource. Support group actually sent that out. Because it's awareness. So there's support. Go to that meeting. So that a resource.
No, but like, so I've worked with the city of Groton at times when I've gone to a, say, I'm involved with family. There's whole current situation where primary mental health went very rarely. And, you know, I actually went to a meeting of this trigger for him is fire.
Yes.
A trigger for him is a white. What it is. He had he had a friend who, I'm not saying it was a police error, but unfortunately. And so we were able to get down and sit in a round table to talk and try to do the best we could to, when that call came out, the mom was so afraid that he'd get hurt because he tends to get aggressive that maybe a could go if they were aware. So it actually worked out beautifully because we were able to identify them that have these requests with the family. And I got nothing but positive feedback. Great. He's now going to be going to the next step and the mom because he's older, but it just was so important to identify certain risk factors and knowing that, you know, even having I just wanted
So all I did.
okay.
We've done that for a long time, not necessarily through Marina, but with officer, we have our computer aided dispatch, and we're aware of anyone that has autism, there's prompt, if we put the address in with permission of the family, there's prompts in there. We're also working on Project Lifesaver, which is through the, in partnership with the Pride 55. We're working on this project where if someone is autistic or if they're missing, there's a way that we can locate them. There's equipment that we've got. So yeah, that's not a novel approach. It's something that's been consistent with police departments, and we've certainly been a part of that for a moment.
Anybody else have any questions?
You have one? How do you find time to sleep?
I don't.
That's what I think.
Right here.
We're hoping to solve that problem for you.
She did recently have a vacation. We struggled with granting permission for her to go on that, but since your daughter got it for her, we
She
had.
got, she makes.
Oh, good.
She pays
I think the list is very vast on everything you're doing. And when the idea came up to do this, and these were exactly what we're thinking, as I was thinking. And I think you fulfilled everything, and you're growing, and I can only, the way I vote is support and give you more what you need. So I am very supportive. Be around.
I hope it wasn't too painful.
No, it's good. All right. Piece of cake, I just, I stopped shaking. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I forgot my card.
Maybe you gotta get some. Okay. So. And any other business or.
I was gonna say, you got some, I guess. So, recently we've had 2 fatalities with motor vehicle accidents. Everywhere I go, that's all everyone's talking about. So I guess my question is, from the police standpoint, is it more distracted drivers, more speeding drivers? What do we as a community need to be doing differently to make it safer?
I'd say yes on all of the above. I can tell you from the police chief standpoint, so we've had 3 weeks, 2 Fridays and a Saturday in a row, where there's been a fatal accident here in Groton. One was on the Gold Star Bridge that I think everybody is certainly well aware of. That was investigated by the state police, but the 2 others most recently were here on town roads and in close proximity to one another. One was on Route 184 at Lincoln Road, and the other one was on 184. One was late in the afternoon, about 6:30, not this past Friday, but the Friday before. And then the one this past Saturday was in the morning, about 10:30. In both cases, they were head-on collisions where one vehicle went over the center line into the oncoming lane of traffic. They're both actively investigated. Officers, we have accident reconstructionists, but we partner with other agencies outside of Groton, Stonington, Ledger, Groton. We have a collaborative team that goes out where there's trained officers. The speed a factor. Speed is always a factor in severity. So the faster someone's traveling, there's a higher likelihood that they will get worse injuries by higher speeds. I'm going to move that along, just talking since that's way on the other side of the room. There are other components that I'm not prepared to talk about right now since they're still under investigation. But it's safe to say, in generalities, in addition to speed, distracted driving, operating under the influence, just general, those are the big things, right? In any vehicle accidents, and we have, as you probably have heard during the town council and RTM meetings, John Burt and I serve as the traffic authority, and there's things that come up often where speed signs, things of that nature will help educate the public if they see that out there. I will tell you in these 2 particular cases, from again, it's very preliminary, but from what I know now, there's probably other contributing factors that led to these crashes happening. It appears based on initial investigations that the at-fault operators in both of those cases will probably be the decedents. But yet there's other stuff that goes into it. So, what are we doing about it? That's the logical question, right? What are the police doing about it? Well, even today, earlier at our staff meeting, talking about redoubling our efforts for traffic enforcement. I will tell you, back in 2020 during COVID, not just this, but I sit on the racial profiling task force. If you look at the numbers pre-2020, what they are now with enforcement and law enforcement universally, not just this department, across the country, numbers have plummeted. When enforcement goes down, accidents go up. And we're dealing with that in this town. So it's my job as your police chief is to make sure that our officers are more attentive to that they're out there stopping cars, that they're doing proactive enforcement efforts, running speed, speed detection devices, laser, radar, that sort of stuff, but getting those hazardous operators off the road. And what we also know is by doing that, even if we're stopping a person for a equipment violation, a registration, that attunes the other rest of the motoring public to say, oh, wait a minute, the police are out here doing enforcement. I better be more attentive to our driving. And I certainly better not be out here driving under the influence. And I better not be speeding and all that stuff, because they see the police out there doing it. It has an impact. That's gone down here in the last 3.5, 4 years. So we, as not just me, but law enforcement leaders need to push that, but we also need the support from the community to make sure that we want that. The message that police heard a couple of years ago was hands off. Now we're seeing the consequences of it, and that's a frank assessment from me individually, not necessarily me, the police chief. So folks, doing things wrong, they're going to say, well, maybe we need to do things different. Now we're being told, redouble your efforts. So we need to do that. But we need the public's involvement in that. They have a vote, right? They're the ones that are out there operating vehicles. So people people need to be attentive to that. And, unfortunately, other parties were injured in both of these, thankfully, there were no more fatalities, but I went out to the scene on the first one. I wasn't able to go out. Captain B went out Saturday to assess the scene for us. On this most recent one, I can tell you, the vehicles are here at the police department. They're not, you wouldn't recognize them. Well, I don't know that. We spent a lot of time investigating these, we bring a lot of resources out. Kind of wish we had a van to take to these scenes, would have been helpful the last 3 weeks in a row. I appreciate, efforts to try and get us that, but we'll get there. But there's a lot that goes into this stuff.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
got a question. If I see somebody speeding, what can I do personally?
You can't chase after them.
No.
You don't, and I mean, people will follow the two wrongs don't make a right. Here's what you can do, you can call it in. If it's a hazardous operator, and I will tell you that we do get those where people call
But you
in.
need what? License plate?
Sure. Vehicle description, license plate, anything like that, and white, looks like a white Toyota, white sedan heading northbound on,
Who would we call?
if it's that hazardous where it's creating a risk to the public, you could call 911.
Okay.
Not for, 911 isn't meant for
No, I
general
understand.
routine, but if you're following a car and it's all over the road, first of all, back up because you don't want to be right near them. If they do crash, you don't want to be part of that. But call the police, call 911 if it's that bad. I will tell you, in one of these cases, we did get 911 calls. We may have got 911 calls. Those are, if people see something out
So
there.
would we call the desk sergeant if it was?
If it's hazardous, you call 911. If it's something you want to report after the fact, you call the routine number, the desk officer. Okay. That. And what I also, in being one of those folks, if someone is that insistent, if the operation was that bad, and let's say nothing happened, there wasn't an accident, but a person says, you know what, that car, it was just so egregious, we can send an officer to take a statement, and they can issue a ticket, but the officer didn't make the independent observation. If it goes to court, if a ticket is issued based on the observations of someone else, and a written sworn statement is given, that person would probably be requested to testify if it were to go to a magistrate or for the court.
Thank you.
I would say for what I would actually motor vehicles, not just part for, well, I should say part for, but my, in our neighborhood, my cousin, well, and that is a little bit of her driveway at 3 something. I've been seeing also, I didn't know if there was a way to have the police on the high school and the Groton Tech school, because the majority of the Ring Drive, Quarry Road problems are exactly when the school many times to sit outside and try to actually get actual license plates, but they're literally going so fast I can't get them. So I've got several on here and I can barely see their license plate. We have them now deciding that they're going to back up and go side by side and race each other down Quarry Road. So just having maybe conversations with the schools, just saying that this is an issue. And I mean, I had thought about, is there a way to double the fines? But it would be nice, but not gonna happen. Do it for every town and every street. But if that would be a great, I've had a lot of people complain about that. I did have I probably should have mentioned it. I did have 2 phone calls, but it actually is a state road because it's Route 1, which is not your road, right? Technically, but it's in your town. So where Virginia's court is, that walkway is becoming a huge issue. We actually witnessed it just yesterday, but I had 2 people call that it was at night. And if it wasn't for the fact that the oncoming car that flashed their lights at them, they would have had to cross the street. I went up all through Groton, Norwich. Me and Joe took a ride all over the place, and I have not found another walkway that doesn't have flashing lights or some kind of way to say this is a walkway. It has 2 signs, but it's. I did send it out to Andre Baumgartner, hoping that it could get through the state there. Be done. Because even a flashing yellow light, something. Because, yeah, it was a very close call for the individual, like, they call me, but what can you do? I'm like, well, I'll mention it.
So typically, again, the town manager and I are the local traffic authority. We don't have authority over state roads. However, we do often correspond with the state over issues. If someone brings something to the town manager's attention that relates to that, we'll usually assess it. And if it does go to the state, it will sometimes come back to us looking for a recommendation, even though it's a state road. And I will, to your point, I know a guy who happened to be on his way to work at this building, who stopped a vehicle going to Brasso Tech, a student, driving way too fast. And then another one going to Fitch High School, driving way too fast. So there is enforcement happening there. Hopefully that message gets out, up and down the chain of command here, but it has happened.
Just as a citizen, I did make a phone call to the police department. When you're coming down around our nice little areas are, there's a house being renovated right on that corner of corner. So when I came around to leave one day, there was a car parked the wrong direction on the wrong
You're on
side.
Indian Field Road.
Indian Field Road, sorry. And literally, we had just enough space to try to get our vehicle out, but if anyone had come around the corner, I thought, oh God, they're gonna hit us or someone else coming down. I did call the police department.
Yeah.
They did say they would go out and if you guys say, just keep calling.
He did that. Did we have some?
When I got back, it was gone, so. I
I'll
don't-
take that as a success.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'll
you
take that as a
did.
success. Yeah.
I was gonna do that.
It's right where the package store is.
Across the street from Bridge Market.
Virginia Sport, right? Is that?
For Guinness.
Virginia.
I'm not,
Virginia, yeah,
no,
whatever.
We've had 3 people hit.
Yeah,
in
there,
that
people
spot
have
over
actually
the course of the
died.
time that I've lived there.
I know, I don't know if the town manager recalls this or not, or there was some type of plan the state had put together there a number of years ago. It may have predated. Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Did not go
Redesigned.
with
and-
it.
yeah.
So instead of like, once I got poo-pooed, nothing, other than just a sign, you really can't, when it's really dark going through there, you can't.
We can ask the state traffic commission to take a look at it. Yeah, and they'll assess it, but I will tell you that sometimes when we ask them, we all have to play by a certain set of rules, called the MUTCD, the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices. There's rules that say where you can do it, location, what you can put up there. Some things, like often we will get requests in town, we want speed bumps in our neighborhood to slow people down, and that's universally something that we say, no, it's not an approved traffic control device, it's not something that really is intended to slow people down because somebody showed. So there's a certain set of rules, and they have traffic engineers that look at it, that do a pretty deep dive on it. I can make an inquiry.
And
Assuming that the town
what I do
manager-
notice has helped a little bit in our neighborhood, a little bit, and I would say for people that even live in our neighborhood, myself included, is those flashing, go start going too fast, even if you're going 1 mile over your speed limit. We had discussed possibly getting it on the other side too. So it goes both sides. But that's a possibility.
Those are a precious commodity. Those were approved in the budget this year. We're trying to buy more of them. Every neighborhood wants them. So we're doing our best tonight.
We have to do a section in time in one area moving from
So maybe if we could request the one on Quarry Road to be put, because it seems to be the worst time is when they're full, so they're coming the other direction. I know for myself.
Yeah, if you want to give us a call. and
Okay.
I will
Can we just
also,
put on our Instagram?
Yeah.
I will also say that our officers are out there doing enforcement, kind of back to the point that maybe before our officers are doing enforcement. Probably saw a press release last week that went out. Allen Street, one of our officers stopped a car doing 104 on Allen. Yeah, pretty significant.
And what is the charge for that? Is that,
That's reckless
Reckless
driving. That's-
driving.
Yeah, that's not a ticket. That's a mandatory. Yeah, that's misdemeanor summons.
Yeah.
I was thinking more. Okay. Anyone else have anything else?
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
go ahead and speak.
So there's a location in our community where there have been multiple shootings with one kind of business. I'm not gonna call the business out, but is there anything legally that can be done about, like, when a shooting happens at the same place over time multiple times? What do we do as a community trying to keep safe?
We are working on it. Our detectives are assigned to handle that. We had some discussions earlier today, right? The deputies taking an active role in that. We don't do things exclusively. There's other agencies, both in the town, you know, the zoning and that, as well as outside of the town. When it's a liquor establishment, we can use the liquor commission. When they're not a liquor establishment, it's a little more areas, but there are some regulations that we can go. It's regulatory agencies at the state level that we.
It's been coming up over the years, but it's a serious one. I mean, it happens many times, and it's very scary.
Yeah, two more back.
First of all, to your point, it gets back to the question you had asked about what can we do. Our department annually has been pretty high on the whole statewide Mothers Against Drunk Driving awards list, where our officers out there proactively enforcing. You know, last year we were always in the top 10. We were the top municipal department. Second municipal department a couple of years ago. We topped it. Yeah, we've seen that.
Second, just behind.
Yeah, Hartford was the top. Yeah, and then us.
I should put an hour in.
That'd be hard for. Just.
Oh, I was pretty good in that.
And the last item I wanted to share with this group first, because of your role, I received some correspondence the other day, and I'd like to read it to you if I may. And I should have put this under correspondence, but maybe it goes to new business too. But on behalf of the Attorney General of the United States, I'm reaching out to notify you and congratulate you that Officer Heather McClellan has been selected to receive the 6th Annual Attorney General's Award for Distinguished Service in Community Policing. This truly represents the administration's gratitude and commitment to those who risk their lives daily to protect our communities from violent crime, illicit drugs, and criminal gangs using successful investigative, strategic, and tactical community policing approaches. We received 169 nominations for this award, demonstrating an interest in lifting up positive work done by law enforcement every day. My honor to inform you that the awardee was selected from more than 292 officers nominated for this award, and to congratulate you on this achievement. And the more than 18,000 law enforcement agencies across the country, rank and file officers, deputies, and troopers serve important and invaluable roles in their communities by practicing proven and effective policing strategies. The COPS Office of Community-Oriented Policing Strategies has scheduled an event to be held on Monday, June 5th at the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C. And we hope they're asking, and I haven't asked the town manager this yet, but if we can attend. And so I'll ask him in a less formal setting.
Who's we can attend?
That would be myself and the awardee. So, we're pretty
Is
proud.
it open to other, is it open to any,
I think this went to me, but I'll have to find out. But we're proud of Heather and her partner Chase, and just wanted to share with you that she will be getting this recognition.
Does she know about it?
She does.
Okay,
We told
so
her
we
today.
can congratulate her. So much. I don't hear anything else.
Motion to adjourn.
Favor?
Aye.
It's what time? 6:24.